So I want to talk to you today about becoming our bigger selves, stepping into our bigger selves. Because last week, I moved into my bigger self, going from being a ministerial candidate to becoming a minister. And when I made that step into my bigger self, it occurred to me that moving into that bigger self actually happens in two ways. The first is we create a situation where we are forced into becoming our bigger selves. And in creating that situation, usually it is accompanied by devastation, upset, pain, chaos. The second way we move into our bigger selves is when we first embody what that bigger self is. And then usually when we step into it, it's with grace. Now, I am not sitting here going, always go for grace and everything should be grace. Sometimes being forced into a situation is the only thing that's going to move us. Now, I want to be clear that I am not speaking about some force outside ourselves moving us, but that's something inside ourselves that is of a higher and greater nature than ourselves, knows that we need to move even when our smaller self doesn't want to. And so situations get created that help us move along, even if it's painful. And so I want to share with you my story because it involves both of these ways of moving into our bigger selves. To me becoming a minister. It started 18 years ago when my marriage was in trouble at the time. My marriage I was in at the time was in trouble. And I thought we had decided that we were going to go into marriage counseling. And so my wife at the time set up an appointment for us to meet with a Dr. John Waterhouse. That name may be familiar to you because he is the president of our movement. The day before we were supposed to begin counseling, I came home and found her gone. She had moved out. She said she wasn't interested in the counseling. We were done, and she was gone. I was devastated. But our relationship had not worked for quite a while, and I had been unwilling to grow and move. So in retrospect, she did the best thing she could do for me and herself to move me forward, because the next thing I did was go meet with Dr. John Waterhouse. And the next thing I did was begin the journey through Science of Mind. It was a painful journey. It was a very painful journey. But it was worth every second of it to be where I am today. Within a short period of time, they asked me to be their music director and put together a band. Now, putting together bands is something I totally embodied, knew I could do easily. And so the band came together very easily, and it was an incredible band. It happened with grace and ease. And we had singers show up, which was a good thing because the area of music that I did not have grace and ease with was being center stage. I could run the band, but having other singers be center stage worked way better for me. And whenever it was my turn to get up and sing, that did not go as well. I wrote a bunch of songs. And after a while, the congregation came to me with money and said, put these songs in a CD. I was not very good at recording. So once again, this was a process of chaos as I moved into my bigger self of recording. Painful and long. Something that might have taken a month or two turned into almost a year before it was done. And it did not turn out that great. But it got out to other churches and they learned about the CD. And some people liked the songs enough to call me up and ask me to come perform. And so I started moving into my bigger self as the front person at other churches. And the first 5 gigs I played did not go well. And they did not invite me back. But I kept at it and kept moving forward. And I remember the day that I walked up on stage without any stage fright, having fully embodied the performer I am. And that day changed everything, because after the show, not only did I get a standing ovation during, but afterwards they bought everything I brought. I sold over $1,000 worth of stuff that day. I sold out. They bought everything. And after that, other shows were similar. I had finally embodied that role of the center stage performer, and it was showing up, and people were moved by what I was doing. And one day a minister came to me and said, you know, if you do the talk as well as the music, we can pay you more. So here again, once again, I needed to grow into that. But this, because I love talking about science of mind, came much easier for me. And I enjoyed it so much, and I was good at it, and people liked it. So this part had grace and ease to it. And then the day came where ministers were calling me up saying they wanted a day off. And would I take their place that day? And so I stepped into the role of not only doing the talk, but putting together the whole service. And then the day came when I started realizing I wanted to be a minister, that I wanted to do all of that. And as I was thinking about that, I went to visit my very New York Jewish mother, who instead of beginning our conversation with, hello, how are you, started out with, why don't you just become a minister? And I thought, yes, that is mine to do. And the most amazing part about ministerial school, which is at a master's level, is it was the least stressed thing I've ever done in my life. Now, I'm a person who back at between the ages of 19 and 21 failed out of college 3 times. But now I was ready and clearly had embodied a presence and essence around this, because school was a breeze for me. The reports, showing up, everything that needed to be done, I never stressed about any of it once. And I finished with straight A's except for 2 B pluses. And so then it came time for paneling. And there were 20 of us who were there. 20 different experiences of the oral panels. There were those who had a really tough time getting through their oral panels. There were those who actually failed the first time they took them to take them a second time. But I had so embodied being a minister, having already opened this center, having already started putting together my ministry, that within 2 minutes of being in the room, instead of them questioning me, they were asking me questions about my ministry. And could I show them how to do this? The conversation turned around to being completely colleagues talking with each other and sharing, instead of any sense of test. And it was because I walked in with that consciousness of embodiment that I'm already a minister. So we're just here to share and celebrate that. And sure enough, that's what showed up. So as I stepped into this role, it was with grace and ease that I went from a ministerial candidate to being a minister, a licensed religious science minister. Both are incredibly important ways to move forward. And however we move forward, that's what's important that we do. We will move forward even if we do it kicking and screaming, because we have a higher self within us that is moving us forward. And the more we look back on who we are being, one of the quotes of Ernest Holmes that changed my life was when he was asked how he prepared for a sermon. He said, I never prepare what I'm going to do. I always prepare who I'm going to be. And that is what we have available to us every moment of every day. Stopping in our tracks and checking who we are being, and then bringing that forward. When I walked into that before I walked into that ministerial panel, I looked in the mirror and saw myself as the healing presence, as the minister. I never once treated for how the result of the panel would go, but I fully treated for who I already was. And I find I'm doing that more and more in my life. Not treating, not praying for results, but standing in deeper of who I am in the world. And in that, expecting the results to show up, because this is who I am. So I offer you today the opportunity to stand in who you are. When you treat, when you pray, stand tall in who you want to be in the world. That's why I love that identity prayer so much. It speaks so strongly to who you are, who we want to be in the world. And out of that, of course, our lives will work brilliantly. You know, here we talk a lot each week about embodiment. And so I want to remind you what I mean by embodiment. It's not what we think, though what we think feeds our beliefs. It's not what we believe, though what we believe feeds what we embody. What we embody is the totality of what is conscious and unconscious within us. It is our thoughts, our mind, feelings, our actions, our beliefs, race consciousness, or anything else that's going on. It's the totality of all of that. And whatever it is we embody shows up in the moment, reflects back to us instantly in our embodiment. And so when we embody the fullness of who we want to be, that's what reflects back to us in that instant in the world. And in that instant, life is brilliant. Or not, depending on what we are reflecting back. But what we have the ability to do is in any instant, no matter what the condition is the instant before, reflect back to us something new by what we embody. So maybe that embodiment occurs through devastation, because no matter what goes on, it is for our good to move forward. No matter how upsetting it may be, it is for our good to move forward. Ernest tells us times and time again, there is a power for good in the universe, and we can, he says, can use it, but we are using it every single minute of every single day. So looking at what's going on in any other way than that, we're in denial of what's actually happening. See your life as brilliant. Embody your own personal brilliance, and your life will show up. It has to. That's the way the world works. So let's have a meditation. Sit back and close your eyes. Take a deep breath and relax. Imagine yourself on a path. It is the perfect path. Feel how it feels beneath your feet. The air, the light, the sights, the sounds. How the air feels against your skin. It is perfect. It is exactly the way you would love it to be. Maybe this path is in the woods. Maybe it's in the clouds. Maybe it's on a beach. It's wherever your perfect path would be. Now imagine you come to an opening. It is the perfect opening. The sights, the sounds. This is your sanctuary. The temperature, the light, all perfect. The view, how it feels against your skin. absolutely perfect. And there is a chair there, the perfect chair. Go and sit in it and feel the as you sit in this perfect chair. Take another deep breath and relax. Imagine your essence growing beyond your body, as big as your sanctuary. Imagine it growing even beyond that, as big as the earth. Feel it grow beyond that, as big as the galaxy. Beyond that, feel yourself grow as big as the universe. And even beyond that, feel yourself grow to the infinite nature you truly are. Imagine you are this infinite container, and every experience of your life and condition of your life, let it dump into it. Let it just fall in to this infinite container that is you. Every single experience you've ever had. Notice how small all these experiences are compared to the magnitude of the infinite being you are. See how small every experience is compared to your true nature. The power of who you truly are, the brilliance, the magnificence, the infinite nature of you. Surround all these experiences in your love and light that is you. See how small they are. See how large you are. Feel how small they are. Feel how large you are. And from this place of infinite nature, know that anything is possible. That you can embody anything and have it reflect back to you in a moment. Nothing too large compared to your infinite nature. Thank yourself for this glimpse of who you truly are. And when you're ready, open your eyes.